operate, kind of these schools of hope, which is a lifeline to the parents in these communities. And so I look forward to being able to do that. You hear some static out there, but they're going to take over, all these schools. No, you're talking about, a relatively modest number here. Maybe over half a dozen in Miami-Dade, maybe in Broward, and a handful of spots. Maybe someplace in Tampa. I don't know, but you'll definitely have some in Southern Florida. And you know what? If people don't want to go there, then don't go there. But I will tell you, when you have a recipe that has succeeded, parents are going to respond to that and respect that. So we're excited for what we've been able to do. We've obviously been the leader on this. We're ranked #1 in education freedom every year now. We're ranked #1 in parental empowerment every year now. And we're excited for that. Now, everything we said we would do, we've done on this. But if we have options to be able to make the experience even better, then we're going to do that. So last summer, Congress passed the reconciliation legislation, and in that was a federal tax credit opportunity for school choice. And the way it works is, and I think it'll be on your current tax year if you want to claim it, you will have an opportunity. So say you owe $10,000 in taxes, you can take $1,700 of that and direct it not to the federal government, but to the scholarship granting organizations. And so how much money is the program going to end up getting? It depends on what individual taxpayers do. We did, when our tax credit is corporate tax credit. I think that makes more sense than individual, just because the corporate, you can call up and say, hey, can you do this or whatever. There's only so many, people that are filing corporate taxes, and so you can really get a lot of people to do it. And I've had conversations over the years when they were getting attacked by activist media, kind of the woke mob. Oh, you're funding a scholarship where kids are going and they're teaching, Christian, oh my gosh, oh, that's bad. And so, but the thing is, some of these executives, they get spooked. They don't want controversy. But the lesson on all that is, that mob comes after you. If you blink, they know they've got you, and they'll keep coming back and back. If you tell them to pound sand, they'll squeal. They'll squeal. They will squeal. They'll squeal, but you know what? They're not gonna mess with you anymore, because they know you don't care. And so we had to kind of fortify some of the folks that were in our scholarship program on the corporate side. So the bottom line is, we don't really know how many taxpayers are going to opt into this or not. So we don't know exactly, and we don't know how many states are going to ultimately participate in this. But there is going to be some level of money to where students will be able to be eligible for some of these scholarships. And so this will start January of 2027. It's interesting, they basically said the states have to opt into it. I'm not sure why they did that, because, quite frankly, Florida, we've already done it, right? So a state that's inclined for school choice has probably done something on its own. Where you really need these scholarships, you need to get into Chicago and give these kids a lifeline, right? You need to get into Los Angeles. You need to get into some of these places, Baltimore, where they've had a lot of problems, but the unions control the education system. The Chicago Teachers Union, it's basically like Karl Marx. It reincarnated with their agenda. Very hyper-left, hyper-partisan, very mean during COVID to the students. They wanted the students out of school, locking the kids out. And then meanwhile, you'd see some of these folks in the Chicago Union, they'd be in the Bahamas just having a great time. That's the kind of stuff you're doing. So really, really partisan political control over some of these school districts. But the problem is I don't think those states are going to opt into it. And so your school unions, because this will introduce some competition. But I think if you could airdrop in scholarships, to people in the south side of Chicago, the union wouldn't like that. But boy, that could potentially be game-changing for those students. And so maybe they'll get there at some point. But as it stands now, states have to, to opt in. So when we looked at it, obviously philosophically we're in favor of doing it. We want to make sure it's not going to subtract from what we're already doing or somehow do that. And I think they haven't finished the regulations. They're still working on it in the Treasury Department, but I think we're confident that this is something that could be beneficial. So on School Choice Week, I can announce that Florida will be participating in this new federal education freedom tax credit. This will be something that will start January of 2027 for taxpayers to be able to do. This will allow students to get, so, we basically have these ESAs. So, if you're already paying tuition and you have everything, you could still get that and maybe do tutoring with it. Maybe you can do some additional supplies or books or other things to help advance the growth of your child. So it gives parents more resources, more options. We obviously, as these regulations are proposed, if there's anything in there that is somehow not going to be kosher for how Florida does it, we'll let them know. That's certainly not their intent. And so we just need to make sure that all that. But I think this could be something that's really meaningful. I think it'll supplement the great stuff we're already doing here. Probably is going to be pretty groundbreaking in states that have not yet gone down the road of school choice. But here we are. It was really good, and it still is good. So you have that. The homeschooling. We have one of the biggest homeschool populations. Where do we rank in homeschooling? Do you know? At the top. Well, you know who actually is good, and so we do good in homeschool because we embrace it and I think California has a lot of homeschool too, because they're running for cover. That's why they're doing it. It's like, they don't want their second grader taught that there are 97 genders, and so they just they're opting out. They're done. Sorry. So I think they have a pretty big, but we have a big population too, and we're really, really proud of that. Proud of our charters. I mean, we're doing like classical academies. I mean, I was just talking to a friend of mine that runs one of them up in Northeast Florida. Classical education in a charter setting, and it's very high quality. You have more specialty schools that can develop that focus on certain, not niche, but certain specialties. And that's really, really positive. So I think the best is yet to come, because as we've empowered parents, you now have the ability to almost mix and match the education experiences. With our program, you had a group of homeschool parents, they could pull some of their ESA money, and they could bring, maybe there's a good teacher at the local public school in government. Then, you could do and hire to come in and teach the dozen kids that are being homeschooled. You can do all kinds of things that I think are really innovative. So I want to thank everybody for being a part of that. I think this is going to supplement our efforts in a good way. What we don't want is the schools to just simply see this money's there and then raise the tuition. That's not what we want. We want the parents to actually benefit. So we'll be watching on that and seeing kind of how all that shakes out with that. And then, we do have some private schools that don't accept the scholarship. And we disagree with that. I mean, I think that they'll say, well, we just don't want to be entangled with anything. But, that's not what the state has done. The parent is the one that's ultimately directing it, not us. And so they're doing it. I think it's just because, they don't necessarily want to have people from lower demographics going to the school. And I think that's unfortunate because, you have opportunities to really lift people up. But nevertheless, I think 90-some% do accept it. And we're thankful that they accept it. So, all right, well, we'll hear from our Hammer Education Secretary, Stasi Kamoutsis. Come on up.
Well, good morning, Grace Christian. It's so great to be back here. I know we were here just a few months ago with an exciting announcement, and to be back here at a school that I know is providing a world-class education. As Commissioner of Education, I love to come to schools like this because I know that you are prioritizing student education. I know that your teachers are coming to work every day to make sure that they are delivering a world-class education. And a fun fact, actually, the governor's communications director, Alex Lane Franconi, is a graduate of Grace Christian Academy. Thank you, Principal, for hosting us today. It's great to be back here, and thank you, Governor, for bringing us together for this very important announcement. As you said, we are halfway through School Choice Week, and a week it is to celebrate educational freedom and the opportunity that it is providing to students across the state, and hopefully now with this important announcement across the nation. In Florida, that principle guides all that we do, and our students are better off because of it. This week has been a time to showcase Florida's leadership in building the largest and most comprehensive school choice program in the nation. At a time when many states were beholden to education monopolies, this governor demonstrated the leadership that he always does and expanded our school choice program to universal school choice in 2023, truly being a model to the nation. And our students are benefiting. He rattled off all these numbers, but in a state that has about 2.8 million students, did you know nearly 1.4 million of our students are benefiting from a school choice option? Whether that's the more than 400,000 students that are in charter schools, which is the highest in our state's history, or the over 530,000 students that are participating in a scholarship to attend a private school. Again, the highest in our state's history. And with respect to homeschool programs, about 10 years ago, we were at 77,000 students. Today, we're over 150,000 students that are benefiting from a homeschool program. We without using public spending, and so this will supplement our state's program. I want to commend the President and Secretary McMahon for implementing this, as well as dismantling the bureaucracy that is the United States Department of Education. And by opting into this program, Florida will now enable more low-income families to pursue private schools, homeschooling options, and other educational opportunities that best meet their child's needs. The more that we're able to fund these families, the more it seems like a likely opportunity for their child to benefit from school choice. And so Governor DeSantis' vision for school choice has already produced incredible results. He talked about the 71% of our schools that are A and B schools, up from 64% last year. That's nearly 250 schools that are now an A or B school that weren't like that the year before. Hundreds of students, thousands in some cases, of students going to these schools that are now benefiting. We talked about the 77% of the charter schools that are also now A and B schools. And a stat that I'm really proud of, we went from 117 DNF schools last year to now 70, down from 47. That is huge for families across the state because Florida continues to deliver meaningful academic gains for all types of schools. Florida also achieved a historic 92.2% graduation rate, which is the highest in our state's history. And just last summer, we talked about our proficiency in English and mathematics, where students in English language arts are now, from the inception of progress monitoring, about 115,000 more students are demonstrating proficiency in English language arts, and about 100,000 students in math. That's hundreds of thousands of students and families across our state that are benefiting from school choice. Why? Because as school choice has expanded, student achievement has risen. Competition drives better results, and we are seeing that across the board here in the state of Florida. School choice is not about elevating one educational opportunity over another. It is about ensuring that every child is in an environment where they are able to best learn. And participation in this federal tax credit scholarship program will give Florida parents even more options to best meet their children's needs. National School Choice Week highlights the transformative power of educational freedom. And here in Florida, that principle is central to our work. And our students are thriving because of it. As other states look for answers, Florida stands as proof that when you put students first and you empower parents, stronger educational outcomes will always follow. So thank you, and God bless you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of my wife and our staff and students, we're thrilled to welcome the governor back to Grace Christian for the second time. We're proud to have you on our campus, and we're certainly proud to have you as our governor. You know, I'm generally a proponent of term limits, but I wish there was an exception that we could make in your case. I say to the governor, thank you for your consistent leadership on behalf of the families of Florida. When COVID hit, the governor chose freedom over fear and made it possible for schools like ours to stay open. He never forced masks, kept teachers in the classroom, and you protected our rights to worship in person. You are the reason we call this the free state of Florida. Today, obviously, the focus is on educational freedom. Our school, Grace Christian, is in its 52nd year educating young men and women in a truly Christian setting. We're thankful to the governor and education commissioner for all that they've done to expand school choice in our state, and the results do speak volumes. We have more than 700 students and a yearly wait list of hundreds of families trying to get into our school. The overwhelming majority of these families would not be able to afford a private Christian education without this program. And as our students come here, we're able to educate them in a Christian environment. We're able to freely talk about the gospel, that Jesus Christ died for our sins, was buried, and rose again for all of mankind. We're able to use the Bible as the standard to teach our children, not just how to make a living, but truly how to live. In fact, we have a number of our students here. We have some sophomores and juniors in our newly formed Turning Point USA group. Give them a hand. I know that these students and their parents at Grace Christian are so thankful for this program and the opportunities it affords them. Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Thank you, Commissioner Stassi. I talked to Alex this morning. This is great because I talked to Alex. He's like, are you nervous talking around the governor? I said, I'm only nervous about saying Stassi's name. He said, Stassi's one of us. Just call him Stassi. So there you go. But thank you so much. I'm prayerful that whoever leads our state next will have the same convictions and resolve as this great governor. Thank you for being here.
Well, it's a great week for school choice. We're proud of what we've been able to do, but if we have an opportunity to even help people a little bit more with this federal tax credit education freedom scholarship that's going to be coming down the pike, we're going to do it. So we'll see that will all come to fruition. Probably, I guess, what would that be? The 27-28 school year would be. They wouldn't be able to do it in 26, probably, right? Yeah. So you're looking a little bit while. So you juniors, you'll be gone, I think. But anyone who's in elementary, middle, or early high school, you'll be able to benefit from this, hopefully, in a really, really good way. Okay. We got any questions back there? Yep.
Governor, can you confirm as to whether you're going to have an announcement next week with the baseball commissioner regarding the Rays, and what type of deal is coming together to build the stadium? Is it going to be good for the taxpayers?
Well, I can't confirm anything until something's public, but you know I'm a believer that baseball can succeed in Tampa Bay. Just having. You know, having grown up in the region, we had so many people that love baseball, and honestly, very few hockey relative. And yet, look how successful the hockey team is at drawing fans. So I think people want to participate. I think you got to have a venue that makes sense for them to travel to, and I think that just in this day and age, I think you got to have some other stuff, around it. So I know that there's a vision from the Rays leadership to not only have a stadium, but to have accoutrements around it, where you have restaurants and hotels and other things, shopping, so that it's something that even if you don't like baseball, you'd still maybe have fun going out and doing it. And so I know their works. They're trying. It's the Tampa Bay Rays, and I think that they're saying they want it to be in Tampa Bay. I can tell you, there's other parts of Florida like Orlando here and do something that can be meaningful. But I remember when there's been a lot of scuttle over many years about this, and Major League Baseball's position was because it was like maybe they'll move the Rays out of Florida. They wanted to split Montreal, half the whatever, and then just those other cities that they were looking at. And I think Major League Baseball's saying, it's like, look, Florida is like, the fastest growing state, or certainly has been for most years of the last, 6 or 7. It would be an admission of failure on baseball's part if they can't succeed, in Florida, especially in a market like Tampa that has grown tremendously and has a lot of people that really like baseball. So I think they're committed to making sure that it can succeed in Florida as well. So, our role is a little bit more, not indirect, but the HCC has this thing. They have a chance to increase their campus vitality, I think, in ways that can be good. I've toured that campus. Some of these buildings are old. You got to put all this money in deferred maintenance, and maybe you just reimagine it. I'd rather spend the money like that. And then we have some state buildings in that plot that honestly our juvenile justice has always planned to leave, so that's going to leave no matter what happens. And then we've got one that we lease to the county, and there's a FDLE that's always wanted to leave there. So our role could be to just help HCC negotiate something that's going to be good for them and be good for the Rays, and we're happy to do that. I just, as governor, it's like I wanted to succeed in Florida first of all, but I do think Tampa Bay, that's where the team was birthed, and we do want to see it succeed in this region. I think it can succeed 100%. I think it can succeed. The Bucks have done well, especially when they're good. And they were great for the first half of the season, not good the second half. So that was frustrating. The Lightning have done tremendous, but you have certain ingredients there that make it something that's really, really special. So I think that from what I've seen out of the team now, they understand that kind of the assignment in terms of how do you make this something that's viable over the long term, and how do you get enough fan interest to be able to do it. And I know they've looked I know Pinellas, there was Rocky with trying to get something there, so they're looking more at Hillsborough, all this other stuff. Obviously, here where we are now, you guys would rather it be, by Raymond James, right? It's just an easier commute to you. If you live in downtown St. Pete, you'd probably rather it be there, but to the Raymond James area than it would be to get to the Trop, traffic-wise. I think you do that. So I think you'd still draw a lot of people from Pinellas. There's no question. Yes?
Can you talk about school choice a little bit more? The audit came out on vouchers and how the money wasn't necessarily being used appropriately. What can your office do if the legislature doesn't come to a solution?
Well, they are going to. The Senate, then, to be able to identify and then have a glitch bill that looks to see and gets things going, within a couple years of this really launching at full thing, that's what you're supposed to do. And so we definitely think we'll be able to make the necessary improvements and to kind of keep going. But, let's also just put that, in its proper context. This has been massively successful for many, many people in this state, hundreds of thousands. I get, if I'm walking in like a gas station, like people come up, there's certain things they say, right, in terms of, during COVID it was thank you, whatever, saved my job, thanks for not telling them that I didn't have to take the shot, whatever that, thanks for having my kids in school, thanks for liberating them from masks, all that, but as we got beyond that, a lot of thanks for the scholarship. Thanks for the scholarship. People are very, very grateful. So it's made a huge, huge difference in the lives of a lot of people, and we'll make sure that we get it done. But I think what the legislature has done with what the Senate's been doing, I think makes a lot of sense in getting this thing, in the best possible, posture moving forward.
Governor, there's a federal hearing right now in Fort Myers involving DHS, Alligator Alcatraz, and immigrant groups, ACLU. What is your stance on the federal government, how it's handling immigration enforcement, and how is the state still involved with the facility down south?
So the facilities are sanctioned by the feds, reimbursed by the feds, and the media's like, oh, they haven't gotten $600 million. We haven't spent $600 million. That was an authorization at the beginning. That's going to obviously take a lot of time to get there. We've been approved for the reimbursement, and that will happen. But once DHS decides who goes in, whether that's the depot in Baker, whether that's the Alligator facility, they decide who, and then our folks that we, have in these positions, they process them, they stage them. There's immigration judges now on site at both of these facilities, hopefully rapid processing. I mean, here's the thing. Look, if you really have a right to be here, then you shouldn't be, involved with immigration authorities. You should go on your way. But, if you don't have a right to be here, we should, determine that quickly and finally, and then repatriate you to your home country. And so you're having that there. So they're in both of those facilities, and then DHS will then take from there. So they run flights out of the airport down at Alligator Alcatraz, which is right on site. That's one of the reasons why that facility was identified, because you literally just drive them a couple thousand feet, they go on a plane and gone. Baker County, we like that because it was a pre-existing facility. It didn't cost us a lot of money to stand it up. Even though we get reimbursed, we still want to, do things as economically as possible. So they have to usually they go to Lake City Airport, which isn't far, but you got to get them in a van and kind of go from there. So we've been able to, help effectuate, a lot comparative, to what the previous 4 years of deportation flights out of the state of Florida. And our state, and look, it's interesting. Remember, January of 2025, a few weeks before Donald Trump took office, I called a special session of the Florida legislature. Why? Because I said the American people want immigration solved. They want the border stopped, but then they also realize you can't have 10 million people come in under Biden and just stay, that you have to have enforcement and removal operations. But I also understood that there are issues with doing that effectively. So we did a lot of stuff in that special session that I called, the main thing was making sure that all state and local law enforcement agencies had a duty to assist DHS with interior enforcement. And now look at, and a lot of people at the time, we had a little turbulence with the legislature, like all the voters who were keyed in on it were like, we need to do it, and so we did it. We got it done. I think the voters made themselves clear in that. But even then at the time, I mean, they kind of, knew that we needed to be strong, but I don't think people fully appreciated how important it was to ensure that these local officials and our state agencies are on the same team, with DHS in this. I don't want a Minneapolis mayor situation in Florida. Well, guess what? Because of that legislation that we insisted on, if you did have a situation where they were trying to, well, one, if they were even non-cooperative, refusing to cooperate, but if they try to sabotage, especially, we have the ability to remove them from office, suspend them from their positions. And so there's real teeth into what we're doing. So we saw that would be. Now think about what's unfolded since then. Florida, you have this. We have almost 20,000 apprehensions of illegal aliens between our local and state law enforcement, and that's in addition to what DHS is doing on their own. And so they probably have done twice that many just in the last pretty much 9 months is when this stuff really started to ramp up. But everyone knows their duties. Everyone knows they've got to cooperate. I understand some will be show a little more zeal in doing that than others, but you cannot not cooperate, and you definitely can't sabotage because there'll be consequences. Well, if every state did that, you would not have some of the problems that we're seeing, around the country. That's just a fact. You have governor, mayor in some of these states, Minnesota and others, where, one, they refuse to cooperate. Why would you not? I mean, think about it. I don't care what your view is on immigration, but if you have someone who's here illegally and they commit crimes in your state and violate your state law, and then they're getting out of prison, why would you not have DHS come pick them up and send them home? Why would you release them into your communities? That's really, really problematic that you would do that. So that's just like the bare minimum of cooperation that you would want to do. They don't even do that. They don't do that in California in some of these places. But then you have kind of the next thing where they're really whipping up. And look, you can protest against this all you want, but that's different from impeding their ability to operate. from trying to sabotage the proper functions of federal law enforcement. And if you don't like the fact that someone here illegally can run for office promising a big amnesty, you can do that. You have the freedom to do that. You won't win if you do that. We did legislation saying it's illegal to enter the state of Florida if you're an illegal alien. And the court said, no, that's immigration's federal. You can't be creating your own crimes relating to immigration. It's all the federal government. So they will try to handicap and handcuff states that want to see federal immigration law enforced fully and the way it's written. Then you have a change of administration. They're trying to enforce, these laws. But then it's somehow okay for state and local to just kneecap the enforcement of that so that it's hard to get done. And you know what? They're doxing these agents. They're trying to create an environment where these people are harmed. So it's a very difficult situation when if you're on the street there and you have a target on your back. I mean, you've got people that are very well organized, and they're not just there to protest. I mean, some of these people are there